around the killer Matatu crew. On page 3, I think this was a very good take on this story because it talks about killer Matatu crew jailed for life offer no lesson to rogue peers. And this is a story about James Gitao, a Matatu driver, and his conductor, Silas Ndungo, are serving a life sentence for killing a passenger following a scuffle over 5 shillings bus fare 21 years ago. And this stiff punishment hasn't acted as a deterrent if last week's incident is anything to go by. On page 3, that was a really heartbreaking story to follow, and I think this perspective is so important. What have we not learned? It this talks about the absolute lawlessness of the sector. The article goes on to say that these events led to the arrest and imprisonment for murder, which is, of course, those who were imprisoned 21 years ago. But further on, it says that these cases indicate that all confrontations between Matatu crews and passengers revolve around bus fare disputes. And according to court files, it starts as an argument over balance and then degenerates into a scuffle. That the government's attempts to regulate the industry and tame the rogue crews through punitive laws and imprisonment haven't succeeded in installing sanity. And it says here, we are dealing with a sector where people have actually decided to be the law themselves. They've decided we are the law. It doesn't have to be that way, though. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be that way. Law can be upheld.
It can.
It takes a lot, and it has been. But there's a sense of, a lot of sectors have said we are the law. It's not the only one.
True, it's not only Matatus.
It's not only Matatus.
Yep.
I don't know. By the time we get to this happening, the lack of humanity, by the time you're throwing a person out of a moving vehicle and you send them to their death, you know you're sending them to their death. That's murder. I don't call that manslaughter or anything else, right? That's 1. 2, by the time people are in a vehicle where people are disputing 30 bob, that person might not have the 30 bob, but you're telling me out of the other 11 passengers, 12, 30, in the bigger ones, about 30, 35 other passengers, that they had no one else who could be like, let me just step in and do something. I don't know.
That was even, I think, for me, more troubling. I know that there's a story of a lady who, I think she came out and basically said, I saw this happen, and I saw this boy. I saw how scared he was that he didn't have his balance. And I had to say, you know what? I'm going to step in. But if we don't look at ourselves, I don't know. Sometimes a country will continue to be bedeviled by the same issues if we're not constantly coming together. And I feel like maybe this is where we get it wrong. I get that everybody's struggling. A lot of people. 30 bob isn't an insignificant amount. But at the same time, if we're looking at wanting to be a country that's there for each other, and then these things happen, I feel like it sets us way back.
It does.
It's that thing where we say fixing ourselves first.
Right. And then with the Matatu industry specifically, you can't help but draw that thread between the Matatus will operate as they want. They'll carry however many passengers they want. They'll add Iniswaji Sambaza so that 2 seats become 3. They'll bribe police officers when they've done whatever it is that they have done. They'll continue to do that. They'll drop you where they want to drop you, not at a designated stage, but they'll pick you up from anywhere. Kushukuliwa ni anywhere, but kushukishwa,
hapa
kuna stage, right? That it seems like small things, but
it adds up.
It comes in as well as, like you're saying, Janet, it's fixing ourselves. So I just want to throw us under the bus here. Why do you want to alight at a place that's not a designated stage?
But you picked me up from a place that wasn't a designated stage.
Why were you standing at a place that's not a designated stage?
Because the designated stage
and hailing the mud from there.
It's far.
I understand. And, it starts with the road design, because I usually have a problem with the road design. If the road design does not cater for all these factors, then you'll find pedestrians behaving in a certain way. However, there's also a way in which we behave on our roads. So yes, there is a footbridge, but Siniapa too, we cross. There's a stage that's on that side. Why is that stage on that side? Yeah, the stage, that's where the bus stop is.
It was designed intentionally that way.
That's where the bus stop is. Ati, unajua niko na mizigo, sasa nataka tu kuje tu hapa, ini dakika moja tu niingie. We.
Mariam is laughing because she's like, accurate.
You know, it's so accurate.
It's a give and take.
It is give and take.
Yeah.
I just think, you know, there's this conversation around struggle love. It's a bit off base, but it's just somebody saying, I don't need to struggle all the time.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be,
hard.
especially when society is kind of on edge. And I think a lot of people right now are on edge. It's a very frightening time. We saw what happened on Thika Road the other day. People are on edge.
Yep.
True.
Yeah, and all that happens now is that it escalates, it permeates into different industries. And like I said, it always sounds so cheesy when people talk about it like it's far off, but we are really on some very delicate ground right now. It'll take one thing to set things off.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Eggshells, tuko tu.
We are just walking on eggshells.
Yeah.